Bong in Korea has a nickname Bongtail.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ah, that's amazing!
Oh my god, that's Robert Pattinson.
This
Ever
is
seen?
Cool, right? Half.
Best gift I've ever been given ever. That's the coolest thing.
역시입니다. 진짜 너무 재밌고 감동도 있고 환상적입니다. 무조건입니다. 무조건. 인터뷰는 기세야. 좀 이따가 보여드리겠습니다. 감사합니다. Okay, so
one of best actors, just the best.
sit back and relax and talk about movie.
Just chat.
Yeah.
I like it. What are you talking about? Yeah, that is actually good.
어디 보고 갈까요? 안녕하세요. GQ 구독자 여러분. 오늘은 저와 함께 Nice to Meet Q를 보게 될 텐데요. 마크님, 나오미님, 스티븐님이랑 재밌게 떠들다가 가겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
Nice to meet you. Dude, you're so good at it.
So right now I'm just free falling. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go.
So have you guys tried any Korean drinks before?
Soju.
Tried
Well,
soju.
tea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
soju.
tea.
Today we'll have shike. It's not tea. It's rice
Yeah.
traditional drink.
Here we go, baby.
There you go.
Give it to me.
There's little rice, cider, and
Is
this
there
is mizugaru.
Is there a word like how do you say cheers?
Oh,
Cheers.
konbae.
Chug. Conde.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my fave. That's good.
Have you had
It's
this
really
yet, Mark?
good for
I haven't.
foreigners.
That's so good.
Oh no, that's my favorite. Oh,
That's the
Isn't that crazy?
mizugaru.
Mizugaru.
The OG style of mizugaru is you get it from the still bowl with ice on it.
This is my favorite.
That's the
Wanna try it
shike,
again?
right?
Yeah, the chicken.
It's better after sauna,
yeah, it's good.
Korean sauna. So this is actually, I saw your movie.
They're the smallest things.
Yes. So because you can only have 7 calories on a ship, this is actually mini croissant.
This is the
think
cutest
it's
thing
chocolate.
I have this thing about tiny things.
Yeah. So what
That's
was
amazing.
the actual food that you guys had to have? What is that?
I feel like it was like
Was it
gruel.
prawn?
It reminded me of Oliver Twist.
Yeah, what was that little nugget?
Yeah, that tiny like dry.
Oh, you
black
only had real
bread.
food.
We had a lamb. We had a giant lamb.
When's the last time you came here
Last fall.
for promotion?
Just
Just
for
visiting.
fun.
Mark, I heard you came
10 years
10
ago.
years ago
A long time ago.
that you wanted to come here.
It was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was happening. We were promoting Avengers. I was towards the end of the line,
Yeah.
which I normally am. And everyone, and they got to me and it was just like, this is a joke.
That's
And
awesome.
It was unbelievable.
Meg Ryan of the 2000s.
Yeah.
It's you now.
I'm Meg
They love you
Ryan.
here. I heard Robert Pattinson said it when he first read it. It was just crazy. What was your first impression when you first read it?
I find Bong's work to be so surprising towards stories that aren't necessarily linear. It doesn't feel like it feels like it can go anywhere. There are so many films out in the world, and it's this type of character, and that character goes there, and that character's going to make this decision. There was such an element of surprise and wonder just in the reading of it that I was like, this is instantly so exciting.
When I first read Parasite, I was just surprised. I
Yeah.
was like,
Reading Parasite was crazy.
it was crazy because you don't know what's gonna happen after the next
Yeah.
page. The Mickey 17 has that surprises too. I was really surprised to see your character, Kenneth. It was I heard it was your first villain, right?
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much.
How was that?
It was scary at first. I talked to Bong. I was like, this is how you see me. I don't know if I'm right for this. It's like I wrote it. I hear your voice when I read it or something. It was surprising to me.
He saw something in you that had that
It's
Kenneth.
Marshall. I didn't just come out of the closet. I like kicked the door off the hinges. Once I got those teeth out, the whole character.
Teeth.
And he was very influenced by his wife, Ilfa.
Yeah.
How was working with
Amazing. He doesn't exist without her. And Tony's so funny and so great and weird.
Does she, when she comes to the set, does she come as Ilfa or does she, no?
She's Tony.
Yeah, it's just tiny.
Tony's just loose.
Yeah,
But those
yeah.
nails are always.
Real.
That's so fun.
Those, I mean, she's, she looks like Ilfa.
Because oftentimes when I was working with Bong, it wasn't actually what I had to say, like the tone, but he actually wanted me to move certain way. When I was going down the stairs on storyboard, I was just running downstairs. But when he saw me, he was like, "Can you go down like a spider?" I was like, "Spider?" So I had to use my 4 limbs to like go down the stairs. Was there anything like that with Bong when you were working with him?
I think every director, every really good director, has like an actor inside of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, so there was something about how he would give notes was very embodied, and I could almost, not even just by what he was saying, but how his body was moving,
Right.
I could tell what he wanted, and that really helped helped me.
Was there anything like that? It was your second time working with Bong.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny because like he always picks like that like 매력 point, that like point of charisma that he likes about your character. I think for Timo, it was like when he wants something from somebody, he's very performative. When he's asking Mickey to cut himself up, he like fronts the ask with this like grandiose expression, and I remember Bong was just like, you know, like throw your hands up and just like, you're like, oh my God, isn't this so crazy? What, this guy followed me onto the ship and was like, I think I gotta have this. And
He was doing that on the set,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and you're like talking to him like that, and
I mean, Timo was only real friend of Mickey, but like, is he though? Like, what is he? It's- but he's done such a great job. Like, it's really hard to hate him, but
It's really hard to hate.
Right?
I was talking about you yesterday when you went there. But it's like you have such a quality that even though your character's actions are questionable, there is something about you as a performer. I think it's because you love your characters. There's something you just,
oh, that's very sweet.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
it was Mickey, when Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, when, you know, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but when, you know, they were doing up to something to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted Mickey 18 to do something to you, you know? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like, oh. And then, like, this, I want to do something to Kenneth. And just Shannon comes in just with the pure emotion ball, just throw it at his face. I was like, oh.
so satisfying.
Yeah, this age, I want to, oh, like, can you do it for me? And
Someone.
Naomi comes out of nowhere, just like, oh, it was. yeah.
Do you guys find that as actors, you understand the director you're working with to a point where
yeah.
you just see them walking towards you,
And you're like, I know, I already
I
know.
know,
Yeah,
I know.
I saw that
I know
too.
what you
Yeah, yeah,
want.
totally.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, I know, yeah, I know.
I just, yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
get it.
Let's
Well,
go
it's what
again.
you were
Do it
saying
again.
about like in every director there's a little bit of actor in there. I
Yeah.
think
Right,
vice
right.
versa,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a
Well,
director.
director in every
Yeah.
actor. That scene with
That scene,
Mark,
yeah.
that scene,
Yeah.
and or your scene in the cell.
Oh,
Yeah.
the cell
That's
block.
the cell
Yeah.
block. Like, so you know, when you read the script, you know there's a specific scene that you have to perform at your best, right? Do you guys still get anxious about it? Because I do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, especially emotional
Hope that
scenes.
never goes
Oh,
away. That's all I
yeah,
gotta
totally.
Do you guys have any like routines that you guys do? Like,
You know what though? You know what I'd say to that though is that oftentimes the scene that I thought was gonna be the big one is actually not the big one.
I know what you mean.
I know.
Yeah.
It's actually like
Oh,
another scene that you
perfect,
didn't
yeah.
know
You weren't
about.
watching.
And then all
Yeah,
of a sudden,
100%.
then you run.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
wrong scene, right? Yeah, totally. I did that many times.
And you're ramping up, and you're like,
Yeah, and you're like,
oh, that was over
That
really
wasn't
quickly,
even the
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Like, it was like 4 before that. Yeah.
There's no way to make it easier.
Every other day, just going through it completely
Yes.
non-emotionally, so that I could
Non-emotionally.
no emotion, because you
That's it, yeah.
save that for the day, but you
So
go
you
through it,
have
so it's just
it
blah, 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 blah,
So it's like a piano, like
Um,
playing a piano.
yeah, it's
actually, you played one of the first love line in Director Bong's movie,
I know. Yeah, they told me,
Oh.
which is
and you were literally in the center of it.
yeah.
From Mickey 17.
Right? Yes.
How was that
Yeah.
working with
So exciting.
Robert?
So exciting.
How was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I have been a really big fan since I was younger. Like you know, it's weird acting. The you that is like the public persona you, and then there's you at work, and then there's life you. But the you at work is what I'm most interested in, and he just comes across as he's such an artist, and he's so humble. He does the work, and it's like a duck paddling underneath the water. I'm sure he had a lot on his plate, but he just every day would come in and chip away at this character, and it was incredible to watch.
Well, I was gonna say humble, but also like incredibly strong
Yes.
in his belief and his vision.
Totally.
Absolutely.
So when he
Crazy.
comes to the set, is he more of 18 or 17?
17.
17? Yeah.
He's definitely a 17.
So- well, what about was that like it for you?
Thought he's more as Mickey 17.
I had this moment once where I was like, okay, so there's a monitor there, and then there was a camera on Rob, so I could see him in real life, and then I could see him on the monitor, and I was like, oh yeah, there's Rob. Yeah, and then I went over to the monitor. Oh my God, that's Robert Pattinson. It's like this, like
Holy crap.
Robert Pattinson. Like,
What
like
is it?
what he switches
The
something
camera.
on that is.
He knows how to really like slip in. I
What-
really
what do you mean
appreciate
by
that.
that?
I think he's like unafraid of projection in that way. I think he knows how to just like let the role consume and take over him in a way that in a way that feels like surrender that often I struggle with, you know.
too.
I'm kind of like, I need this to fit exactly how I want it to
I'm
fit,
quite
and
controlling.
he can just go
Yeah.
right in. I'm like,
Yeah.
amazing.
It's
So weird he's not here.
I know.
I know.
Where are you,
Sorry.
mate?
So I think I asked you most of the questions.
What?
Already having a great time. More questions.
We have to talk about the message from this movie. What about this movie, Mickey 17? What was your favorite message?
Bong just said, we had a press conference just before this, and he said it perfectly, that this is his intention is about the ordinary person's experience of life, and then we're surrounded by a lot of influences of the kind of extraordinary that makes us want to reach up for those bigger things, when actually, like, a day where you go to work and you come home to your family and you sit down and you play a game and you cook a dinner is extraordinary.
Right.
There's something about that for me in this, that there's no need to try and be a big hero if you're just valuing yourself and your life and the people around you, that change can come from those spaces, I think.
What about from Marshall Cunniff?
It always struck me as just how, you know, certain systems just become so dehumanizing over such a period of time. Oh, we'll be printing people, and there'll be expendable people, just for expediency.
And kind of that's happened in history, like I was thinking about this the other day, like the history of medicine. People have been tested.
Yes.
Our food and our water and our air and like even climate change. It's like it's all to serve some financial or corporate or
Efficiency.
yeah, and it's our own efficiency. Like we want to make our lives simpler, but what's the cost of it is just the constant dehumanization and devaluing of our bodies. And when a capitalist system runs out of resources,
Where do they go to now?
where do you go? The human body becomes the last thing. And I feel like he's keyed into that in a way that's really profound and funny, but also really sad.
I also think you need to watch this in the theater, to be quite honest with you.
100%.
Especially in IMAX, right?
Yeah.
Biggest screen. It's the
Big.
biggest screen.
End of my questions. And now I have little gifts for you guys.
Gifts.
love
I
gifts.
love gifts. Me too.
Oh my God, I'm keeping this for sure. Look at that, that's amazing.
Oh, this is Naomi.
Oh my God, no way.
What?
No
Look at that.
way.
And then,
Dude. Oh
half and half,
my God.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've
This
ever
is
seen.
Cool, right? Half.
This is
That's
crazy.
I'm gonna get artistic with this.
There you go.
God, it feels nice as well to like. I love it.
If you know, I don't know if you know. So director Bong in Korea has a nickname, Bongtail.
Yes, we found this out.
Peculiar, planned, like really specifically. How was it working with? Was there any like memorable moments?
I would just ask Bong, you know, like small chat, like it would be a weekend. I'd be like, what are you doing on the weekend? Or like it's an evening. I'm like, what are you doing this evening?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, going back to draw some more storyboard. And every time, just I'm going to go back and draw more storyboard. Like you only can become a master at what you do by having a sense of humility and knowing that you don't know everything. You realize how deep the world goes and that you have to keep on going. It's just an inspiring thing for me as an actor who wants to be really great at what they do.
Well, when I was working with Bong,
Yeah.
so Parasite, he drew storyboard, like it was very simplified version of us, but it was very like it was there
Yeah.
Yeah.
for us to perform.
Yeah.
Yeah, like did he draw you guys' face too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was cute
He
little
really
like kind
had
of
you
cartoon.
down.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love when he'd do like the squiggles out of your head to be like,
Yeah.
it was really cool.
Like
yeah.
I've had a lot from that. I've never worked from a storyboard that way.
Yeah.
Oh, really? No.
Not that they give to the actors.
Nothing they give to the
behind
actors.
The,
It's all a
the
secret.
monitor.
You're not brought in
You're
in
not
the
in the same way.
in the same way. Do you get storyboards with other Korean directors?
Yes.
Yeah.
On that day, like, what you gonna do on that? The angle are and.
Korean directors, it's designed
Four.
from the very beginning.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
beautiful.
So normally in States, do you take all the angles and?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you shoot the whole scene
Over
over
and over and over
again.
again.
Wow.
We never shared the
No, I never
storyboard.
seen a
But the
storyboard.
difference
yeah.
between Bong and other directors is just that when we do get storyboards, sometimes it doesn't work with storyboard. Like with Bong, it's just
Bong,
easy.
it's,
But
it's
he just,
set on.
he just
Right,
has the
right,
eye for
right.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I
I didn't
love-
know about that.
Why it's so specific is because even in the storyboard you get.
You shouldn't have given this to us before you
my
asked
God,
questions. Like,
That is so good.
you,
You
what's
can get
good?
really arty with this.
Yeah, how do you talk when you have this thing?
Yeah, hey, look at that guy. Show the people.
So last farewell, I think they want Mr. Ruffalo to say 안녕 GQ.
안녕 GQ. 기대해 주세요.
Wow.
Ah,
Good.
that's
I can only do
impressive.
that
That was great. Thank you.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. It's the best gift I've ever
Hey.
been given ever. That's the coolest thing ever.
Okay.
This is cute. The lighting is great.
GQ 구독자 여러분, 저와 함께 나이스 투 미트 큐 어떠셨나요? 아무래도 마크님이랑 나오미님이 본 감독님을 흉내낼 때 좀 많이 웃겼고, 왜냐면 저도 그 모습을 알기 때문에 현장에서 어떻게 하셨을 거라 상상이 되고, 또 오늘 또 스티븐 형이랑 너무 오랜만에 만나서 진짜 너무 반가웠습니다. 미키 17은 진짜 그 어느 때보다 제가 봤던 영화 중에 현란하고 재밌고 진짜 어디로 튈지도 모르겠고 약간 럭비공처럼 정말 너무 재밌게 봤는데 영화관에서 보는 걸 추천드려요. 너무나 멋있는 비주얼을 미장센을 만들었기 때문에 진짜 영화관에서 아이맥스로 1부터 10까지 쫙 즐기셨으면 좋겠습니다. 제가 독립영화 거인 찍었던 김태형 감독님이랑 두 번째 지금 영화를 만나게 됐어요. 넘버원 이라는 영화를 잘 찍고 있고, TV에서 또 드라마를 종서민 배우랑 또 찍을 것 같고, 지금 또 넷플릭스에 멜로무비가 나오고 있는데요. 2025년 정말 바쁘고 나올 것도 너무 많고 알찬 해가 될 것 같습니다. 여러분 저 많이 달리고 있으니까요. 좋게 많이 기대해 주세요. 많이 재밌게 봐주셨으면 하고요. GQ 그리고 또 최우식 많이 사랑해 주세요. 감사합니다.